Hi, my name is Barry Friedman, and welcome to this series of videos. Each one is packed with life-changing and career-changing ideas that you can put into action right away. 2 requests before we start. First, for the next 8 minutes, can you take off that "I already know that" hat? I really don't care what you know. I am interested in what action you take. Second, if at all possible, I recommend that you focus solely on what I'm submitting. Turn off the text, bings, pings, tweets. Stay right here. There is no such thing as multitasking, and this content can show you how to live your dreams, and it's worth your time. Because you're at this page, I'm guessing that you're an entertainer. And in this video, I'm going to share a story, one that is surely about someone you know, and it might even be about you. The lead character is a person who has made a decision to master a skill such as magic, juggling, ventriloquism, comedy. They've spent their life following their passion and currently perform in front of audiences to make a living. And while the names, faces, places might be different for each of us, the plot is one that you will recognize, perhaps even intimately. In this version of the story, a boy is born into an average family of 2.3 children and 2 parents with desk jobs. He learns to walk, grows teeth, goes to school, and it's all very mundane, and remains that way for most of his childhood. At age 15, he starts to think, well, actually, he starts to hope that there is something more to life. He goes to a summer camp, and ironically, thanks to a guy who took a summer vacation from his desk job, he learns to juggle. On the last day of camp, the boy did a show with his friend and realized that indeed there was something more to life. Our hero returned home with a newfound sense of purpose. He practiced his skills, found others that shared his interests, and for the first time in his life, he felt a sense of belonging. He was never the same after that summer. He had an eye for an adventure, a yearning to travel. He was young, creative, funny, and people liked him. In his early 20s, he hit the road performing at festivals and comedy clubs around the country and was having a great time everywhere he went. Life was good for this guy, and nothing could stop him. Well, if you haven't figured it out by now, the little boy was me. And as I became older, it became important to transform my love of a hobby into a business that was sustainable, profitable, and still fun. And the same story can be told for hundreds of other entertainers, perhaps even you. Most of us fell in love with the art form or the show. Way back then, I wasn't concerned with or even aware of how important it was to master the business side of a performing career. My goal? Juggle more balls. No one told me that 5 was more than enough, and if I ever planned on retiring with money in the bank, I better learn how to add value to a client's life and market the benefits of what I do. Huh? And it's a good thing. I might have slapped anyone who actually told me that during the young part of my performing career. So after 4 years of touring the country, wearing a puffy shirt, tights, and leather moccasins, I was finished. I knew I didn't want to get stuck in that market, passing the hat and kicking turkey legs off a dusty stage just so I could do a show for a drunk and sun-beat audience. The frustration was intolerable. I was doing the only thing I knew how to do. I was waiting for the phone to ring. I know that strategy, which today I call hope marketing, is still practiced by a large percentage of entertainers who find it easier to complain about how tough things are. Well, at that moment, I was 24, without a college degree, and determined to create something better for myself. I knew the act was great, and I knew that wasn't enough to get better gigs. Through a series of unconnected events, our career landed in the hands of a woman who was certifiably unstable and told us that if we were jugglers, we had to wear unitards on stage. Case closed. So there we were, the variety act in a review show in Lake Tahoe and then Aruba for $1,000 a week minus commissions. I was pretty sure I hadn't yet discovered the better life I was seeking. Next, it was a would-be manager living in Los Angeles. If there was a celebrity and a buffet, we were booked. The only problem was there wasn't any money in those gigs. I knew that it was going to take some serious chops to turn this career into a thriving business. The aha moment came in 1988, 2 years after our first Tonight Show appearance, when we were asked to MC a 4-day conference for a retail chain in Los Angeles. During that event, I earned a bachelor's degree in corporate entertainment and a paycheck that made my hands shake. I knew right then and there that I wasn't ever going to settle for less than making a great living at doing what I love. And I hold that as a guiding light to this day. In my next video, I'm going to share some of the most important takeaways from that first show and how I've used them to create an abundant life and why you would benefit from putting them into use right away. Oh, and in case I glossed over that part about our first Tonight Show appearance too quickly, that's because it's not important anymore. Today there are many ways to become more popular than a Tonight Show appearance, and I will cover a few of those in my third video. Right now, I want to climb through this camera, grab you by the cheeks and tell you that I don't believe you're playing big enough. You heard me right. I don't believe you're kicking yourself in the butt hard enough or often enough to create the kind of splash you want to make in this world. Through my website at getmorecorporategigs.com, I have witnessed, instructed, and coached hundreds of entertainers and have consistently heard cries from the land of story and excuses about why they aren't getting the gigs, breaks, opportunities, or making the kind of money they want. Look, I don't care if you're trying to land a few library shows each month or if you have your own television show. Your career is where it's at because of the mindset, the beliefs you hold about yourself, and maybe not seeing yourself as a brilliant superhero. I've coached entertainers who will gladly spend 3 weeks making a dreadful website instead of outsourcing it to a $300 designer who will do a beautiful job and have it back to them in 2 days. Mindset. I've worked with entertainers who are working at libraries because they grew up poor and have some mental, emotional belief that making money is bad. And if they aren't poor, they can't be happy. Hard to believe, I know, but I can tell you it is an overpowering and limiting belief that's driving a whole lot of people in this business. And I've consulted with world-class magician who has sold tricks to the biggest names in magic, performed internationally in over 70 countries, yet felt intimidated to approach corporate buyers in targeted niches with a show package they could easily sell. That's not seeing himself as a brilliant superhero. So when I tell you that I don't believe you're playing big enough, I'm not pulling it out of thin air. I'm not making these videos to help you stay on your current path. Making changes to your career is hard work. Breaking the status quo is much harder than popping a beer, turning on the TV, or watching someone else succeed. And the light at the end of the process shines brighter than most people could ever imagine. I've seen so many people with great talent go all out and end up struggling to pay the rent, care for their families, or ever realize their true potential. The mistakes they make are typical, expected, and fixable. The days, weeks, months, and years that pass add up to a career that could have been and should have been so much more. An action step you can take right now. I invite you to turn off any stimulus that doesn't serve your higher self-image. This might include mainstream media, television, internet porn, tormenting relationships, junk food, or drugs. If you aren't getting the results you want in your career, I can promise you that creating congruency in your desires, your thoughts, and your actions will move you closer almost instantly. Your thoughts influence your feelings, which affect your actions and determine your results. I'll be back in a few days with the next video in this series. I want to honor you for watching this and acknowledging that you still have more to discover about this business. I, as a lifelong learner, believe that my future must be brighter than my past. Without that belief, I'm just waiting to die. And wouldn't you agree that there's just way too much living left to do? I'd love to hear from you. Use the comments section below this video to tell me about your big dream in this career. In as much detail as possible, paint the picture of what your unlimited superhero self looks like. The life of you living in full genius and pleasure. This is Barry Friedman with the Showbiz Blueprint, and I'll see you in a couple days.